Know this. Introducing the original Blood Clot podcast, not players. Soothing semantic. Special dedication. All the way from New York. Boom. Yeah, man. SWOT semantic. Yeah, me know. Boom. Soothing semantic. Yeah, me know. Big ups to the man. Soothing semantic.
On another episode of Soothing Semantics, I am your host, Rafi Pinsky, and today we have Mariana on the episode on the show. Hi Mariana, how are you?
Hi, thank you for having me. That's so exciting.
I'm glad to hear. Thank you for the compliments on the studio. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's really neat. I loved it. I mean, from the time I saw it on YouTube, I was actually, wow, that's cool.
Thank you. Yeah, it took some time. Definitely took some time and some brainstorming, but now that it's all said and done, you know, it's funny how these things like come into play. You know, you put some time into it, you put it together, it works, and that's it.
You worked like you thought about that. You had the idea.
Yeah, I had
this is the look I want.
I had the wallpaper that I put together. There are definitely podcasts that have the brick wall, so I just like the urban vibe because I'm from New York, and it kind of just feels like this gives this.
Yeah, we don't have that many brick walls down here in Florida.
Right. So it gives it this comfortable kind of city vibe. And I got the random pictures, and you know, I put it together, and here we are.
It looks great.
Thank you, I appreciate that. So, for all of you listeners, Mariana has a very fascinating story. She originally grew up in Brazil.
Correct.
And found a love for Judaism. And she was once Catholic and now Jewish. So you have the floor. Tell us about the story. give us your you know.
So I basically grew up in the countryside of Brazil. You know, when people think of Brazil, they think of Rio, São Paulo, and I am from none of these places. I grew up in a small town. My family lives in a town that has 10,000 people. Non-religious Catholic family. You know, you're just, I would say, your regular Brazilian family, but I don't know if those terms will relate to that. I was never exposed to any Jews until I actually got to Miami, which was 12 years ago. Obviously, I heard about it. I studied about the Holocaust, and I read Anne Frank's diary and all of the good stuff, but I've never seen one live in person until, which is a funny thing.
One of those Jews.
Right.
Not once, huh? I never saw a Spanish, I never really knew Spanish Jews, like Latin Jews, until I came to Miami. Maybe a couple, but I heard about them. But now you come down here and all these Jews are speaking Spanish.
Not even in Israel? Not even in Israel?
In Israel, yes, but a lot of them are converts, or you don't really see it much. Mostly converts. You don't really see people who are kind of always Jewish. But here, it's common, especially in Aventura.
Oh, yeah.
I'm used to it by now. Now it's like I'm surprised if a Jew doesn't speak Spanish in this area.
Like, how come don't you?
Like I'm one of the rare Jewish people here that doesn't speak Spanish, you know?
That's funny.
You know, so go on.
12 years ago, I made my move. Brazil straight to Miami. I really never lived anywhere else in the States. And then for 10 years, I lived in Miami Beach, right a little north of 41st Street. If people know Miami Beach well and they know 41st Street, they know how religious I am talking, how the communities really...
Like Tower 41.
Exactly. I was on 57 in Collins. I was not on Tower 41, but pretty close to it.
Yeah, anyone who's, any religious Jew that goes to Florida on vacation, anyone from New York or New Jersey, Tower 41 is known as the religious tower, the religious Jewish tower.
Exactly. So it didn't happen overnight. I got to do everything that someone who comes on their early mid-20s to Miami do. You know, I lived the whole Miami lifestyle, and I think that actually led me to wanting to find something else, because at the end of the day, I found myself living a not a sole purpose life.
So you came to Miami before this whole Jewish thing came to be, and you were like living in, you were partying and...
The whole 9 yards, like I knew Miami Beach like the back of my hand.
Wow.
And then funny enough, one day I started working in Sunny Isles Beach at a real estate office in one of the Sunny Isles plazas that happened to be right by Mozart. And Mozart is a well-known kosher restaurant. And I think that's when it first started, because I started meeting Israelis and I started meeting like just, other people outside of the Brazilian community. Not that I only exposed to the Brazilian community, but I wasn't really, even though I was living so close to Tower 41, I wasn't really exposed to the Jewish community until I started working close to the Mozart Cafe and grabbing some to-goes from them.
Wow, okay. So that's what brought you to... So what about them, what about seeing them and interacting with them brought you closer to them?
Well, then when I started meeting people and making new friends, I remember the first time that someone invited me over for a Shabbat dinner, like the whole, I had no idea what was going on. It was just so funny.
The Shabbat dinner.
The Shabbat dinner. But isn't it so funny, like, what are they doing? Why are they washing their hands like that? Why do we have to stand and nobody talks after,
Oh, Judaism gets a lot weirder than that, Mariana. You know now you're Jewish.
I know. But it was just so interesting. But what caught my eye was like how some people, they have so much purpose and they're so willing to give and they're so just overall good people. It's not that I haven't met them like good people before. I don't want people to get the wrong idea. But I guess the crowd that I was exposed to before, the partying lifestyle did not.
Were you doing that a bit in Brazil as well?
A little bit in my college years, yes.
Okay, so it wasn't, so why in Brazil was it okay there, but when you came here you kind of, meaning you enjoyed it for some time and then it kind of got old,
It
right?
got old, yes.
So why did that happen here but not there? Do you get what? Or maybe it did, I'm just kind of...
It did happen there. I actually, from a very young age, ever since I was in my teens, I was always asking, like, it's gotta be something, like a force that it's like a major thing that is moving us all. Like, we can't be here just because, But obviously, I think I just got caught up in college years and studying and the whole moving from Brazil to America. I was just busy focusing on other things that I kind of put those questions aside. But even my mother says, like, I was always questioning and asking. My mom didn't have that answers. We really never went to church unless people were getting married. That's the kind of upbringing that I had. And I always found that Catholicism in a way was it was either you go to heaven or hell. It's not like the concept of Baal Shuva. You can always come back to God and better yourself as a person and those around you. I kind of felt like I had no shot with
There's no forgiveness with Catholicism? Isn't the whole, Father, I've sinned and the Hail Mary?
There is a confession that you do with the priest, but it's really not the same. I was always scared. It was just like, I'm not good enough. I'm going to go straight to hell, I'm sorry.
I've accepted I might have to go there for a couple of months at least. I'm just like, I've prepared my tank tops and my shorts and I'm just like, all right, it's going to get hot. That's why I moved to Miami from New York.
To get used to it, right?
To get used to it, yeah.
To 80 degree.
Because if it's 170 degrees down there, I already moved down south, so I'm already going, Anyway, this joke's not funny, so I'm not going to stress it any longer. I think it was fun. It's funny how bad it was, but anyway. So needless to say, I might be going there for some time. Hopefully not. We'll see. But I'm glad you joined the tribe, though.
Me too. I'm actually very happy. It hasn't been that long. It's going to be 2 years now next Pesach. So.
I would think you've been Jewish for a lot longer, though, because in 2 years you seem to know so much.
Yeah, thank God I know a lot of things. I had very good teachers, very good mentors. I had a loving community that taught me so much.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for them.
That's fantastic. So kind of, not shifting because we're still on the same topic, but I still, you were going into, I just made that corny hell joke, but I didn't want you to go off track in how you moved here, you were in Miami Beach, you met Jews, and what kind of happened after that? What made you decide to say, okay, that's it, Judaism makes sense to me, I want to be Jewish? When did that happen?
So there was an aha moment of people that know me, they have heard that story so many times. Sorry peeps, you're gonna have to hear one more time. There was that moment that kind of like opened my eyes and I was just like, okay, this is it, I'm sold. Next thing I knew, I was going to Israel to check out with my own eyes if that's what it was.
That must have been amazing.
Yeah. So it all started, I started meeting people around 2015. So I moved to Miami December 2008. Mm-hmm. And around 2015, that was a long time that I was partying, right? That's when I started being more exposed to Judaism and started making Jewish friends. And then Sukkot of 2016, mm-hmm. That specific day, it was Chol Hamoed of Sukkot. And I was having a not so good day. Everything was going wrong. Have had one of those, right?
We've had a couple of those,
yeah.
We've had a few of those in our day.
So just making a long story short, that day I was signed to run an errand for the boss that I had at the time against my will, but he didn't want to do it. And I remember coming back to the office. I was working right by the Mozart Cafe. Mm-hmm. I parked my car at the plaza and I started having a conversation. I was alone in the car. I started having a conversation with God. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize I was having a conversation with God. I was just kind of venting alone in the car. And after 10 minutes, I will never forget it. After 10 minutes, I was just like, I don't even know why I'm talking to you because you never listen to me anyway. You don't even know that I exist. Turn off the car, turn off the AC, the radio. The radio was turned off already. But anyway, off I go. And I had a lot of things on me. My cell phone, my bag, some things I was carrying back to the office.
You're saying in your car?
I was in my car.
Oh, well, women always have messy cars, it's fine.
No. You don't know my car.
I'm gonna get messed up for this. No, I always make fun of any girls I'm friends with. A nice amount of them have messy cars, and I always joke about it. Because you bring your house with you in the car.
Well, I gotta have a couple of shoes and stuff there, but
so accurate. It's so funny. Okay, go on.
And then as I walked back to the office, looking down at my phone, what happened was this Hasidic Jew approached me with a lulav. Mm-hmm. The whole thing, tzitzit, kippah, kapata, the whole thing. And he was like, oh, hey, hi. So happy. I was just so witty. Do you want to shake the lulav? And then I look at him.
You're like, a who? I knew
what a lulav was, though. I knew it was Sukkot, I was very aware of what was going on. And I was just like, no, I am not Jewish. And he looks at me and he says, it's okay. You're going to shake it anyway. I'm going to say the bracha and you're going to repeat it right after me. And as cliche as it sounds...
Wow, he asked you to do it even though he knew you weren't Jewish.
Listen, right now, looking back, there are a couple things that could have happened, in this 60-second interaction that I had with him. Knowing those Chabad guys that approach people like, hey, are you Jewish? Do you want Shabbat candles? Do you want a menorah? I know that when people say I'm not Jewish, they just go like, okay, have a good day, and they walk away. He could have done that. I know that he wouldn't have me say, I know now, I didn't know it back then, I know that he wouldn't have me say a bracha with not being Jewish. So he just probably said something, in Hebrew that I wouldn't say the name of God. But still, he made me, he helped me, and that's when the cliche parts kicks in, because I felt right at the moment that God was, talking to me directly. And he was like, You think I'm not listening to you? Yes, I am, and I'm going to change your life.
It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's mind-blowing, because you're right. In normal circumstances, a Lubavitch, I want to make, some people aren't Jewish.
Yeah, some people don't know.
So, Chabad, with a ch, are a group of Jewish people that, I'm going to keep this very short and sweet, wonderful group of Jewish people, and I don't like to single Jews out and say that I like some more than others, but Chabad people are some of my favorite people. They really are.
No, I love them.
I love them. So anyway, and I'm not Chabad. So they go all over the world. They have rabbis in almost every single corner of the world. And
you know the joke, right?
No, what is it?
What you can find everywhere, McDonald's in a Chabad house.
It's a special thing. It's such a beautiful thing. If you're Jewish, you're never alone. Most places in the world, there's a Chabad there. They set up houses. They set up a Chabad house. They generally have a restaurant or two there, because some people who like to vacation or travel that area will congregate towards the Chabad, because that becomes the center of that city or town or whatever. And a tiny little community builds. And depending on where it is, sometimes in a more popular place, the community will get bigger and bigger. They are just people who are always there for you. They're always giving.
Above and beyond. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's unreal what they do. And they're not there to try to convert you. Their goal is not that whatsoever. They just try to strengthen people's connection with God, and they make it easy for you. They give it to you on a silver platter with a smile on their face.
Mm-hmm.
And they do it in such a loving way where I never feel like it's something, oh, be a Jew.
No, there's no judgment.
Look how wonderful this is. Are you interested in joining me for dinner? And it's like, of course, And they do this in such a wonderful way where you get where of course because this is pretty much what gave you that aha moment.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful story. I'm really happy you shared that. So ultimately, you felt that God was speaking to you. He was sending you this message.
I did.
Right.
And this is something like, that's one I always say, like when I repeat this story, it's so cliche, but connecting to God can be cliche. It's something like, it doesn't matter what I say, other people are never going to feel what I felt.
100%. But I feel like it was very real. Like I'm not trying to interrupt. It's relatable. I kind of had the opposite experience. Not the opposite, but I grew up modern Orthodox, and now more traditional. Mm-hmm. And that's my own. I don't like to say battle, because it's not a battle in any way. I don't feel like I'm battling with God, but I'm kind of in my own place with God, and I'm very spiritual, and I'm always thinking about. Throughout my day, I'm always thinking about, and I can't say always, I'm not going to sit here and exaggerate, but a nice percentage of my day, I'm thinking about what God has planned for me, and what I'm doing and what I'm not doing.
Have
and
that awareness.
Being honest with myself about whether I should or shouldn't be doing certain things. And I don't go to synagogue, I don't go to shul really, I really don't go at all. But I have this connection with him mentally, where I speak to him, and I feel very, very strongly that we have this connection. But it's just, I guess it's the kind of thing where I grew up having it my whole life, and I don't know, I guess I just took a certain direction. And it's interesting that we grew up in totally different places with totally different experiences, and you're now finding religious, Orthodox Judaism, and I had it my whole life.
Right.
But I guess I also didn't have this calling to it. I was born into it. So in a way, I didn't learn to appreciate it the same way you did, maybe.
I don't know. I mean, maybe.
I mean, I did in many respects. I've had beautiful experiences throughout my life. But I don't know. It's the kind of thing I can't really explain. I'm kind of like where I am now, and I'm okay with it. This has so far been very, very eye-opening, because I've actually never had this kind of discussion with I've talked about shuvas, but I've never really spoken to somebody who's converted.
Oh, really?
No.
But you have met them.
Sure, I've met plenty of converts, but I would see them in a shul, but I never really sat down with them and had a deep discussion as to what made them do that. Because most people won't. Most people will never change religions. It's a completely different
change of lifestyle, even.
Right, you change your whole life changes.
Religion. It's I moved my life around because of the religion. I don't think as a Catholic I would have done that.
Yeah, for
If
sure.
that makes any sense.
Yeah, it's unreal. So back to this. So you shook the lulav, right? And the lulav is if any of you have noticed, the holiday we're talking about, Sukkot, is with one of those huts. So all you have to do if you don't know what I'm talking about is search Google Sukkot. It's a holiday in October time.
It's usually October, yes.
October, yeah.
Mid-October.
Anyways, mid-October, and I grew up doing this my whole life, and I'm brain farting. Anyways, mid-October, we sit in these huts. Not going to go through the whole thing. I want to stay on track, but we have these what's called the Alba Minim. These 4
species.
Yeah. So basically, we have a willow branch, and we have a type of lemon. It's a different kind of fruit altogether called an etrog, and then we have another thing called hadassim and aravot, and they're also different kinds of plants, and they're put together, and it's a very interesting concoction. To a non-Jew, it kind of just doesn't make any sense,
right.
But it signifies this entire holiday kind of just signifies us not having a home when we were roaming in the desert after Egypt, and God had a cloud protecting us, and this sukkah, this covering, this temporary home, kind of symbolizes the cloud, God's way of watching over us, and all of these things encompass that. So it's definitely a very special holiday. They all are. So I'm just
they
giving
are, but
Sukkot
is just lovely. I love Sukkot.
It's very nice. So go back to you. So then, after he got you to shake the lulav, what was, what happened after that day? What happened after you shook it? What?
So I immediately texted some friends of mine, and I told them, and they were like, "No way, that did not happen." Right. I was like, "Yes." It was mind blowing right at the moment. I remember walking into the office with a completely different vibe, as you say, like at 5 minutes ago, I was just like so moody and having such a bad day. And then here I am, like so excited. And normal people, not that we're not normal, but like other people were like, what are you so excited about?
Right, you just shook something. Like, what are you so
exactly.
excited about? Exactly.
What's the big deal,
right.
So next thing I know, I am booking a trip to Israel. I had never been before.
Well, when you say next thing you know, how soon are we talking? Like a few weeks later?
A couple weeks later, I am booking a flight and started to looking into places, what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go. And that wasn't so soon. That actually happened October 2016. I went to Israel in May 2017. That was the first time I visited. And I started diving in and meeting more people. I was actually now putting more effort on meeting more people and going to more dinners, and I just wanted to get as close to Jews as I could to see if there was for me. And shortly after I came back from Israel, I looked for a dating to start the process, which took a couple of years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what was, first of all, it's incredible.
Thank you.
What was being at the Western Wall, the Kotel, like the first time?
I always say that we cannot put into words what it feels like to be in Jerusalem, right?
Amazing, right?
It's amazing. The whole atmosphere is just like, how can you explain that? And going to the hotel, it was the most amazing thing. Yeah. I cried my eyes out. It's just so beautiful.
My first time was amazing. It's funny, some people don't have it.
Did you go as a kid? Some people don't have it, right?
I didn't go as a kid. I went when I was 18, 19.
Mm-hmm.
It's my first time in Israel. I first time on a plane was at 18, so went on birthright, first time.
Oh, okay.
So Israel, the first time I was in Jerusalem, it was beautiful. It was so amazing for me. I had a really strong spiritual connection.
For me too.
Western Wall, yeah, I kissed it. I was definitely a little teary. I wasn't like bawling or anything, but I was definitely, it was definitely an emotional moment. Put my hands on the wall, and I was like, wow, this is...
You feel it.
Yeah, it's I think realistically, not to negate what you're saying, because I felt very emotional too, but you have to want to connect to it. I think maybe you can say some people just feel it automatically, but I think you have to have a desire to connect to it. Because
I
if
think
you
so
just,
too.
if you're not Jewish or you just don't really have a religious calling and you just go there, you might feel that there's some significance to it, but you might be like, okay, this is a wall that's important to a group of people. Some people don't really have, I think some people, maybe genetically or whatever it is, have a more of a strong spiritual connection to things than others. I think some people are very spiritual and very emotional, and other people are just kind of like, it's just a wall.
Exactly.
You know, and I think that's something that I've accepted and come to, you know, I think that's something, like I said, something I've accepted over the course of my life. Some people just don't, there's not much you can do. They don't really see these things.
But I think that even Jews, some Jews feel that way. And I'm telling you that because I just recently, a year ago actually, I went to Israel as a madricha for birthright. And some people in my bus just, you know.
Nothing, right?
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. So for some people, they don't see the temple, and you know, this was where one of the temples were, and well, both of them. And this is, you know.
That's the heart and soul. Like
yeah, this is the
daven
holiest
facing,
place.
right?
Right.
But yeah.
This is the holiest place in Judaism, and so much has gone on here, so many wars, and we fought to keep it so many times. For them, they grew up in New Jersey, they went to college, they go to Israel for free. Their real intention is to go party and have a good time in reality and have a free trip, because they don't have a connection to Judaism. They're Jewish by blood, they grew up Jewish, but they don't read Hebrew. They couldn't read a word of Hebrew. They don't eat anything kosher. They don't dress in a Jewish way. They don't do anything Jewish. So for them, this is just like, oh yeah, this is like Jewish stuff that I heard about.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It doesn't really mean anything. It's interesting.
I don't want to say it's sad because, you know, some people might get back to it, some others might not, but I don't know. I would feel a little sad if I hadn't found anything myself.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, spirituality is beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. No matter what it is, no matter whether you're Buddhist, Hindu, Jewish, Muslim, you know, if you're connected in a spiritual way to a higher power, I used to always think, because when you grow up, I think in any religion, you kind of feel like you're doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get older, at least for me, I'll speak for myself, I've come to honor any religion and any religious group that, as long as they aren't harming another group, as long as they're doing something harmoniously,
100%.
I'm like, that's beautiful. When I see Muslims, first of all, I think the Muslim call to prayer is beautiful. I really think it is. Especially when they call him the azan, pretty sure it's the azan, and the call to prayer is called the muazzin, I'm pretty sure. So, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. So I love how it sounds. I think it's beautiful. So when you see them doing that, when you see them bowing in unison, they're all bowing, you know, thousands of people are bowing together, it's cool, it's a beautiful thing.
Right.
When I was younger, I used to be like, that's kind of like an enemy group, because you kind of think that Arabs and Jews, the Israel and Palestine, blah, blah, blah. And then you get older and you realize, like, it's all stupid. We're all connecting to God in our own way. We're all a religious
Cousins
group.
at the end of the day.
Huh?
Cousins at the end of the day.
I
right?
know, but that's just it's sibling rivalry.
Right.
And when, you know, as I'm getting older, I'm just realizing there's beauty in all of it. It's just a different way of serving God, and it's.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing at all. Nothing at all.
Yeah.
It's just your own version, and I think it's all beautiful. So, one thing that I find interesting is that maybe a lot of it was situational, because maybe, who knows, maybe if you moved to a different state and there were a bunch of religious Muslims.
Exactly. What if I had gone to Utah instead of South Florida? You know what I mean?
Mormons.
Yeah.
Could be, but you can argue that was God. God decided that Mariana is going to be Jewish. I'm going to put her in a Jewish community, and that was your fate. That was your destiny.
It really was. And I am a firm believer that there are like no coincidences. So
right.
I think I came to the right place.
I don't think coincidences are a thing either. I agree with you. It's wonderful. So now, okay, so you shook the lulav. You had that aha moment. Went on your trip to Israel. You saw the Kotel for the first time. It was an eye-opening experience for you. You became a madricha on birthright. Madricha is basically a madrich for a guy, a madricha for a woman. Hebrew has masculine and feminine. So they're basically tour guides. Either tour guides or in other forms, someone who gives direction, a leader of sorts. So you did that, and how long did you do that for Birthright?
I actually just went once. I went last winter.
Oh, okay.
Actually after the whole conversion thing. I did go to Israel prior to being a Madriha and after I went the first time as well. So I've been a few times. Well, basically what happened after I came back from Israel the first time, I was just like, okay, I'm sold.
Wow.
I'm sold. I'm gonna look for, like ways to do it. And man, so many people was like, why? Like, are you sure?
Yeah, that's wild. Okay, so you did that, and what was the conversion process like? Why'd you choose Orthodox Judaism?
Quite a few different reasons. I felt that the Orthodox Judaism was really going to teach me what I wanted to learn, and I am passionate about Hasidic, like the Hasidic, like books and texts. I think it's beautiful. I think I knew that I wasn't going to be exposed to that kind of a spiritual environment by doing here in the US what's known as a reform conversion or a conservative conversion. I also knew that Judaism comes from the mother, and if I wanted to be considered 100% Jewish in all spectrums, I needed to go through an Orthodox mikvah. It is what it is. This is very important to me. I didn't do this for, like not to lead a Jewish life. I want to, like, in the future, God willing, have children and raise them Jewish and have a Jewish home, kosher home. So I also knew that was necessary. I do want to move to Israel one day. And beautiful. I know how it is in Israel if you just did like a conservative, like not an Orthodox conversion, and like I know people that cannot get married in Israel under a chuppah because they have not done an Orthodox. There were a lot of things. I took a lot of time thinking about all of that. Because I obviously had people like, oh, just do conservative, you're going to be fine, And I was just like, no, like if I'm going to do something, and I'm not saying that the other ones are not right. That's really not what I'm trying to say, but I was just like, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it at 100%. Like everything else that I do in my life, or I try to do. So yeah, basically.
Okay, awesome. So you chose Orthodox Judaism. Where would you say, you mentioned you like Hasidic texts and practices, so do you want to become a lot more religious? It's a funny question, because it's such a subjective question.
Yes.
Because it's like, what does that mean? But as religious Jews, we all have like this idea of what that means. It kind of means like you cover yourself more, you follow a lot more rules, you might pray more, whatever the case is. Would you be open to being Hasidic, or are you modern Orthodox? Are you kind of the black hat style? It's very funny. It's such an interesting question. And arguably kind of silly, but first of all, I hate titles, but if you had to title, if somebody asked you, what category of Orthodox Jew would you kind of put yourself in if you had to?
I think I consider myself modern Orthodox.
Okay.
Just because, like, I am not opposed to seeing my friends and giving them a hug if I feel like, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And like I cover myself a lot more. I actually changed my whole closet when I started the conversion. But if I have to show a little bit more of my arms, I will.
What do you mean if you have to?
Like not if I have to, but if I am in a situation that maybe my sleeves are not quite as long, like I'm not gonna feel uncomfortable doing that. If I have to, I didn't put it right.
Yeah, I was kind of lost by that. I was like,
no, that was my fault. But I'll be comfortable just wearing something that is not as covered up as this. Although, like, I wear skirts 100% of my time. So yes,
This is kind of your happy place. Modern Orthodox, you think, is where you like it.
Yeah.
I personally think that's a very healthy medium. I'm not going to sit here and say what's best, because I grew up pretty much modern Orthodox. There were periods when I was younger where I was kind of more than that, only because in Brooklyn, New York, there aren't so many options.
I know.
In Brooklyn, and Flatbush specifically, and Midwood, most of the Jewish schools are very religious. So my grandmother personally, who raised me, she was modern, always. But she didn't want me to go to a school that wasn't religious, so she wanted to make sure I went to an Orthodox school. So I didn't go to very religious schools, but I went to like kind of more towards the black hat side, but not like too far. So it was like not modern, but not like whole wow religious. And then then when I went to high school, I ended up going to a modern school because it was one of the few modern schools. So
Did you choose the high school?
For high school, I went to a modern
But
school.
did you get to choose? Like, this is what I want to do?
Yeah. So I went for 9th grade, I went to a very religious school, actually. And that was in the 5 towns in New York, if you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
Did not like the school. Got along with everybody very well. Like, I was friendly with everyone, but I didn't like how religious it was. I just wasn't interested. So I ended up going to a different school, and from 10th grade to 12th grade. And that was like, I loved it there.
Yeah.
It was perfect for me. Loved it. So then I found myself, I was modern for a while. Then I went to the Army. After the Army, it was even about a year before the Army, but I started to just kind of, there were a lot of things I was doing robotically that I wasn't really connecting with. And I was like, why am I doing these things if they're just going through the motions? So people would argue, okay, it doesn't mean you should get rid of it completely. I'm not really here to answer to anybody. But for me, it's just that with what I'm serious about, I'm serious about. My connection with God, I'm serious about. The other things that just aren't huge things for me, like I said, ultimately I'm at a place where I'm at, and at the moment I'm comfortable with it. And who knows where life will go, you know what I mean? What matters to me most is that I'm an extremely proud Jew. I connect with it immensely. I plan on giving my children and family a Jewish upbringing. I want to send them to yeshiva, a private school, a very modern school, but nonetheless a Jewish school. And that to me is an absolute non-negotiable. Yeah. And that's where I'm at. So, like I said, I never know where life will go, but I was just kind of explaining my side. So, modern. Would you say that you're pretty content on the religious level?
I am.
That's awesome.
I'm very happy. Like, I'm happy when it comes Friday. Like, I love lighting Shabbat candles. I absolutely love it. So I'm happy to prep for it.
Shabbat is so special.
It is. It really is. Like, I don't think I never really like you don't get to understand what it really is until you live it. Does it make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%.
And it's so special.
Yeah, Shabbat is a beautiful thing. I'm more traditional about it. I still like to do the Shabbat meals, but that's one thing I'm definitely open to doing. Like, when I find that person, I don't know if I'm going to do it until I do. That's the funny thing. Like, until I find that my significant other, I don't know if I'm going to go back to not using a phone at all or driving or whatever it is. But I definitely feel that it's a different time than the rest of the week because I don't work on it.
It is.
Right.
It is a different time. Totally.
And so Shabbat's an incredible time. And I think taking religion out of it, the concept of putting your phone down for a day, from sundown to sundown, you're not using your phone. It's such a healthy thing. You're saying no to work, you're saying no to all these weekly activities, you're spending time with family, you're connecting with God spiritually, you're having family time, you're having dinner time, and you're taking a day to just relax and take a breath. And there are other people that are just going 7 days a week, 24/7, work, this. You burn out. You lose it eventually. There's only a matter of time where you bug. And that's one thing where, a lot of Jewish teachings from thousands of years ago are still applicable today. And that's what definitely gives me a a feeling that that the Torah was definitely something
Given by God.
Yeah, I definitely think so. It's one of those things that I always ask questions about, because it's like I want more proof, but
Right.
I definitely choose to have faith. So
Same here. Yeah.
yeah. So now now that you kind of went through being on an Orthodox, you're at a content place, you love Shabbat. Do you expect to move to Israel at some point soon?
I do. I really want to move to Israel. It's funny. I don't like to talk about my future plans with people, and here I am in a podcast.
We don't have to if you don't want to.
No, I will. But I think it's important for every Jew to go back to Israel. I believe in what Israel stands for. We've seen and we have seen what happens when Israel is not there. Talk about the Holocaust, less than a century ago, and I believe that every Jew should go to Israel one day. So yes, I do have plans to go to Israel. They are not short-term plans. I have a couple things that I have to do here, maybe more than a couple things that I need to take care of here in Miami, for my life before I move. But yes, I want to have children and give them a life that I didn't have. Mm-hmm. Children that are going to be able to be proud of being Jewish, raised in a state where holidays are public, celebrated,
That's the thing I miss, by the way.
Yes.
For sure. That's the thing I miss. I miss how the Christmas here is
such a big deal.
It's Hanukkah there. It's Hanukkah there.
Yes.
The same way it's all over TV. You just see it on the buses there. You see it in the malls. You see it all over. All of the houses have Hanukkah, menorahs, and that's very special. It's something I definitely miss. Okay, so it's so interesting because I'm like on the America boat. It's so wild how we have Israel. I personally don't know if I'll ever live there. I'm like saying that openly. Yeah. For me, largely it's a business thing. Mm-hmm. Because I'm so focused on creating success in business, and it's much harder there. So
yeah, I've heard.
If that's a goal, if you're trying to make a considerable amount of money and trying to really build a business, it's definitely harder there. But if that's not a main focus, if spirituality, if just being in the Jewish homeland is the most important thing, then that trumps that, and it doesn't have to be the most important thing. I definitely want to have a house there. I want to own real estate there, just to help build, just be a part of it, and I definitely would want to be there part of the year.
Oh, that would be lovely.
So God willing, and I know exactly where I'd want to buy.
Yeah.
I have a few locations of if I were to have a house, where I would have that house. Mm-hmm. So that's for sure something. And who knows, maybe I will at some point in my life. It's definitely one of the few places I would live. It's just a question of where I'm holding. So, like I said, I'm open to where life goes, because who knows. But it's beautiful that you're looking to do that. I would be happy to give you some advice.
I would love that.
Because I know that country pretty well. So I can definitely. I didn't live there as a civilian, but I did somewhat. But I can definitely give you some ideas.
Of course.
Yeah.
Suggestions are always welcome.
Absolutely. So, Mariana, thank you so much for joining me on the episode.
Thank you.
And my pleasure. It was very, very, very. It was a very eye-opening conversation, because, like I said, I've never actually sat down with someone for almost an hour and discussed their conversion story and why you decided to become Jewish. It's pretty wild.
It is. Trust me.
It's nice to have you as part of the family, part of the tribe, and I hope you get to make your move to Israel at some point.
Amen.
So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. This has been another episode of Soothing Semantics. Make sure to tune in, as always, every single Monday for more episodes. Thank you so much. Until next time.